street team's platform?
It's because I don't really think that he thinks that he's going to be able to do anything with $25,000.
No, well, here's the thing. Let me read. So if it doesn't, so look. Oh, this if you really want to laugh, a $2 for a video shout out. Oh my God, I'm gonna get a shout out by Rideshare Professor for $2. And then he got some like bumper stickers and like a live stream pic and some hats and stuff. So if he doesn't get to the goal, let me see. In the event that we don't reach our mark, we will use the monies to contribute to the street team's platform. Guess who owns the street team's platform?
This is what people don't get to see, so we're gonna give you guys a little bit of insight, a little bit of behind the scenes into what is about to be Tryp. We got my man Eric here, you know, coming all the way from SoCal. They flew out here to South Florida, had a few meetings today, and now we're just driving up to Tampa for more meetings on top of meetings. This is the stuff that people don't see, you know. So we're gonna take you in.
So they've been able to see the market develop, see what went wrong, see the parties that are unhappy, why they're unhappy.
Vegas to Florida. I'll be going to Ohio next week, where I'll start in the Great Lakes region. Kind of work my way through there, really just tackling all the airports, getting all the regulatory paperwork filed, TNC permits. From there, I'm going to go over to the East Coast and really just tackle that whole area. There's a lot of airports we're going to, a lot of work. We're kind of on the front lines here, so you know, a lot of leg work, but we're ready for it. So
Ready, we're coming
for it.
imminent.
Yep.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
So I just wanted to give you guys a little recap. Yesterday, well, for me personally, I flew to Vegas, flew out here, met up with Greg. Before that, we met with, we had a meeting with the Dolphins. We met with a city commissioner, had two really good meetings. We took a 4-hour drive. Greg had some people in Tampa. We met up with some more people, had some really good meetings yesterday in Tampa as well last night. Super long day. Finally got to get some sleep. Hit a couple airports, hit the Tampa airport. We're in St. Pete right now. Gonna hit another airport here, and then we're gonna make our way up to Tallahassee. And just on the grind, man. It's a tough gig. We got a lot of traveling to do, but we're gonna be doing it. So looking forward to working with Tryp, and we'll keep updating you guys as we go. So look forward to working with Greg. Greg's the man. He's doing good, man. He's out here. He's hustling. So get with Greg and join the team.
Hey, good evening, guys. We're going to talk about Tryp, and we're going to talk about rideshare in general, what it takes to start a rideshare company. I got my partner up in Tampa, Jay, that's going to be joining us. So over the past couple of days, you know, I've been having a bunch of people, you know, come at the company that I'm getting ready to heavily promote, Tryp Rides. And even one guy who's starting his own. He's starting his own rideshare company. I don't think he understands what goes into it. I want to slow down the back and forth, because hopefully he can understand how serious this is, and he will come August, all right, August 18th. But you know, the same things that he was criticizing Tryp to be, he's going to start facing those same type of issues and doubts. From people, not just me, you know. It's kind of biased by me saying that, but he's going to see that elsewhere. You know, he's trying to raise funds, $25,000, when, you know, to get an idea off the ground. He doesn't even have, let me not, you know, I'm getting ready to like roast, but the long story short, this is something that takes millions of dollars, a lot of lobbying. Let me see if I can get my partner on here. This is something that's going to take millions of dollars, a lot of lobbying, and a lot of people to get something like this off the ground, okay? If you're talking about a rideshare company. With Tryp, you know, a lot of people expected this to be out already, right? I came across this in late November. The site was released late December, and we thought to be in business fully around January, February, the latest. But here we are in July, and we just a couple of weeks ago got the official date, August 18th, in Miami. Okay, in South Florida, will be the first market, to go live and have a grand opening, have drivers on the road, so we can start earning. Right. It took a while. A lot of people don't know what happened, what type of setbacks we faced, why, things that go into it. It's not just creating an app, all right? It's not just getting a few people together. There's a lot of moving pieces. This is a real business, real company. So you guys are gonna get to see this more and more over the next couple of weeks. But let me is Jay on here? So without further ado, this is my partner Jay out of Tampa, Florida. He decided to come along, for the ride about a month and a half ago, I believe. And now that we are closer, and we're still receiving scrutiny, there's still a lot of misconceptions, there's still a lot of confusions. I'm bringing Jay on to touch on what it takes to launch a rideshare company. Now, we don't really have to talk about Tryp too much and what we're doing and how we defer and all that. I mean, you guys have been watching. You guys can look me up. You guys can look up the website. You guys can inbox message me after. But we want to talk about what it takes, because there's a guy right now who has been downplaying what Tryp has been doing, right? And then to turn around and offer and talk about he's going to be coming out with a rideshare company of his own, okay? When I go look at it, he's actually trying to fundraise $25,000, and it says $25,000 for legal fees and for technology. And I'm like, $25,000 can barely retain you a couple of lawyers. That's barely a website. That's barely getting a developer. You know what I mean? Like a tech team, customer service.
Right.
What's that gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, the most, all you've done so far is got a little crappy logo that you probably got from Fiverr, right? You probably got off of Fiverr and just,
it's a generic
a generic logo, which is a terrible name, by the way, for a rideshare company. But
it really is.
It's terrible. But we're not. I don't want to get into. I have a whole other video for that to really roast. But I don't think he has any idea, because we've had a lot of setbacks, with Tryp, right? We thought it was going to be out in January, February, March, and we had a lot of setbacks. We had a lot of, staff that had to be replaced, systems that had to be gutted and just, built in-house. There's been a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of lobbying and stuff, things of that nature. So I want you to kind of touch on that, what people don't see. So even if we do get started in August, that'll be less than a year, from zero to like launching, right? From nothing, from an idea to launching, it would have taken less than a year. Like, do you think people are so, impatient, they don't understand business. So I want you to kind of touch on that, why it quote unquote took so long and what goes into, pushing a new company. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So man, just to make a point on what you were just saying about the setbacks and Tryp having all these setbacks and things, all these hurdles that we had to jump and whatnot. The thing with that is that a lot of individuals perceive it as setbacks, but really they weren't setbacks. It's situations that needed to happen, because otherwise the company wouldn't have been launching the proper way. They would have ran into more problems had they launched and had to resolve those problems when the company was already open and launched than prior to. He says that he needs $25,000, just as it is, and Greg knows this, just as it is to retain a PR company, per month, it costs a minimum of like $10,000 to $12,000 per month. So Greg knows this, because we know who Tryp is retaining as their PR company. You know, we're familiar with who the individuals or who the entity is that Tryp is retaining for to do their PR in just the state of Florida. That's not including in
Right.
any other states that we're going into.
We're not even talking
You
about
know,
licensing.
and yeah,
Licensing.
and retainers. Yeah, yeah. So to add to that with the licensing, just in the applications alone, let me tell you about like to build one house. This is a business, right? Like any business, there's licenses for everything, and you're required to have licenses because you're dealing with public transportation. You're dealing with transporting the civilians. You're dealing with their health. You're dealing with their safety. So you need to be qualified and licensed to do that, to operate in any given city. So obviously there's licensing requirements. Each city, each municipality requires um, a license, and there's fees associated with that license, with the applications. There's an application process. They need to vet you. They need to do a background check. They need to see what the company is about. They need to make sure that you're going to be operating according to the guidelines of the transportation policies in those municipalities. Now, uh, to go into the tech part, man, I wish my boy was on this chat or on this live. He develops apps, and even Taha would be able to tell you guys that it's not very cheap. I mean, you go out to let's say you go out to request a quote just on a very basic application, like for example, something that is more so done on a plug and play system, because there's a lot of developers that develop apps that they're plug and play. They're not custom, they're not white labeled, and they're not tailor made to um, to fit the functionalities that the companies needs. Like for example, I mean, you need to Tryp,
I'm glad you
right?
brought that
It
up.
needs to be able to, yeah, it needs to be able to connect to a GPS API, which just that costs money. So that you can connect to, like, let's say Google's API, you have to pay them to connect to Google's API, right? So that you can use Google Maps, right? Now, besides using the Google's API, now you're also using a GPS, which can be like there's companies like TomTom that provide GPS systems. Um, there's a few companies. So the only one that I'm really familiar with is TomTom,
Yeah.
because it's the best one, and everyone else pretty much sucks.
Now,
Um,
just to remind people, Tryp went ahead and they developed their own app. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a template. Let them know that it's not like this is our own app that was developed.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about a top of the line elite competitor here, right? You're talking about. I'm assuming this app just in development, because I personally don't know, so I just have to speculate. But it takes several million to develop an app that is going to have the server capabilities to have that many individuals utilizing it at the same time without it crashing, to make sure that it functions without bugs, to make sure that it has all the capabilities that you guys are seeing, that and some of the which haven't been launched yet. You're seeing, like, if you go into the app itself, you're seeing like refer your friends, and then a you see a system within a system that is going to be able to keep track of all your points, your referrals, the individuals that you've referred, the rides you've taken,
Merchant
the
account,
rides that your friends have
merchant
taken,
accounts.
like your merchant account. So just let's talk about merchant accounts, because
Shit.
let me tell you that merchant accounts are a pain in the butt to deal with. All right, for one, as it is, you go right now. I want you guys to do this for yourself. Try to, like, seek a merchant account. They want to know what type of payments you're going to be doing, what type of payments you're going to be taking, because that's money that they're risking. See, because they're paying you like that instantly, right? And they have to wait for the bank account to clear 3 to 5 days. They pay you instantly. They have to wait for the bank account to clear. If someone does a chargeback, that's money that they're losing. They don't want chargebacks. You're only, like, a lot of merchants allow you to only have like a certain amount of chargebacks per client, right? And merchants, like if you get a merchant for your individual entity, like for example, I go out, get a merchant, I have to use my social security and my own credit to pull a merchant account. And on top of that, I probably like the ones that I've applied for and I've gotten and I've utilized for my businesses, I was paying like $250 a month for a merchant account to process payments through MasterCard and Visa. And that didn't include American Express. If I wanted to include American Express, because they're like an elite, they're an elite like credit card company, financial institution,
Right.
they required an additional fee. And then so Visa and MasterCard were 2.6 to 4% per transaction, and then American Express typically is like 6% per transaction. That's what they're charging you just so that you
Right.
can run these transactions. So this is a lot of things. Like a lot of individuals, they think they know business. They think that that something is gonna like just be a straight line forward. And we hope that it would be. Everyone hoped that it would be. And we hope that, man, we're gonna launch. They're gonna have a launch date. We're gonna go ahead
Expect
full throttle
hiccups.
towards this launch date, which is
Expect
great.
hiccups. And I'm glad you're saying
Right.
that. Expect hiccups. I mean, just yesterday, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Facebook, Instagram, a couple of other apps were down. People lost their minds for half the day. You're talking about companies that have been out for a decade, and to
Right.
this day, they have blackouts. They have periods where things don't work, things get buggy. The developers got to go in and fix things, and to this day, So expect that with Tryp, and if and when, I'm not even gonna say if, when these things happen, hey, we're the ones that are gonna benefit in the long run because hey, we were here early, all right. We subscribed early. We invested into this early, right? Either as driver, influencer. So everything that Jay has just finished talking about, those are costs. You can't go into something, well, unless you have an employee mentality and you just want to be an employee, you just want to get paid an hourly wage or something like that. Don't expect everything.
Hold on. For some reason, my phone.
So there's a lot of
My
costs
bad,
that go
man.
into this that a lot of regular people, they don't understand it, and they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to pay upfront, quote unquote. They don't understand what goes into startup fees. They don't understand, companies have operating costs. You know what I mean? They have operating costs. They gotta, if they're not gonna get it from the people, the general public, they gotta go out and get it from Silicon Valley. They gotta go get it from them. Get people. Those are the shareholders. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that are gonna be deciding things. Those are the ones that are gonna be, hey, well, we need more money now. We need money now. Now that Uber and Lyft went public, I mean, it's going to be even more of a pressure on these companies to start charging more, all right? Taking away more from the drivers, which is what we're here to do. We're here to actually be a solution for these drivers where they're just going to pay a flat fee and be able to go about their business. But people don't understand, paying some dues in the beginning. Continue.
Yeah, so no, like I completely agree. So even with what you just said, right? Paying dues in the beginning and stuff like that. Tryp has already, so back to what we were talking about, like the merchant accounts and stuff like that. So you're required a certain amount of volume, right? You have to have a minimum volume, and you have to have a minimum amount of transaction. So you have to pay for that, right? You say, okay, I'm gonna grab this package. This is the amount of volume that we're gonna be doing, I'm paying for this package, because that's how you acquire it. And so you pay for stuff ahead of time. You're not gonna pay for service afterwards. You pay for it to be. So Tryp has already taken upon themselves to pay all of that, because they're like, we want to be ready. So you guys are coming in and you're paying those fees afterwards. Remember, this is a business. If you have to think about, if I am able to, right? If I put the work in and I have the work ethic, and I am able to recruit 1,000 individuals, 1,000 drivers to my organization. Yo, how much is that, Greg?
Say that again.
It's
1,000
like
drivers.
1,000 drivers. It's over $10,000.
Right.
It's over $10,000.
Right.
for 1,000 drivers in your organization, and that's a monthly residual. Now you're building. It's in a sense like if you went out and opened up your own taxi agency and you had all these individuals giving out rides, and then on top of that you were giving out these little cards with these barcodes. When the people got in the car, hey, this is how I'm using the little card, and now you're getting paid for those
Speaking of
rides as well.
speaking of taxi, I'm glad you brought that up. I did that like almost a decade ago, probably 2011. It's almost 10 years ago. For like a few weeks, right? And in those few weeks that I did taxi driving, what people don't understand is like taxi drivers have to pay up front. They either got to pay up front before they take the car, or after they got to give the company their cut. So even before Uber and Lyft came around, just because you can, download an app and put a little, background check and you start driving with your car, like, oh, you didn't have to pay anything. That's standard. You know what I mean? That's, somebody brought
Just
up
because
taxi.
they're paying it all in the back end.
You're either paying on the back end, the front end, out of fees, out of a percentage of the fare, something. You're not making 100% of your money. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just, it's all on how you want to perceive it. Perception. Oh, paying up front is so terrible. It's like an MLM. And I actually went live a little earlier today because that guy who claims he's a professor, and he actually claimed on his video that he did business school. He did like business and psychology, and he understands businesses and stuff like that. And what's weird to me is that he actually met up with these people, with Tryp, months ago, back in January, where he could have had all his questions answered. Not only that, but even as he left and months went by where, things kind of, started taking too long, for these impatient people, he could have followed up with Tryp to see, hey, where are you guys now? All he wants to do is say, hey, well, they keep saying soon and posting dates and missing them and this and that. So he asked, he's still comparing it to an MLM, all right? And this is the next topic before we, keep it moving. He keeps talking about it's an MLM. He says, well, I've studied MLMs, and he's bringing up like Amway, and I'm having a brain fart, but just MLM companies where, agents are bringing in agents, and that is a money game. You know what I mean? When there's no product or service and agents are signing up agents, yeah, you can start calling it a pyramid scheme. You can start calling it a sign-up game, and there's nothing going on. And he tried to actually compare that to Tryp, and I had to tell him. I didn't tell him. I'm sure he's gonna watch my videos. I had to make a video stating, and it's sad that I have to keep repeating myself, or people can't figure that out by going through the presentation. But if I go and sign up 100 influencers, I don't get a dime. That goes to the company. Dime. I don't get a dime.
Zero.
We get paid off of bringing in drivers, volume of drivers coming in. So I don't get paid off 100 influencers, but if those 100 influencers go get 100 drivers, I'm getting paid off those drivers. Because if we don't have any drivers on the road, there's no company. Then clearly it's a scam. Clearly it's nothing but an idea, a fugazi, and we're Tryp rides, and we're just signing people up just to, go up ranks and collect residual checks from people paying monthly. And speaking of that, none of us are paying monthly. We're not paying monthly to be influencers. The only people paying monthly in auto ship for an actual product, a physical product, the app, right? Access, licensing, whatever you want to call it, to an app, are the drivers. Then another point that he made is, probably 90% of the people involved in the company are influencer or influencer/drivers. And I'm like, well,
that's the point.
And then the last point that he made was that, well, I don't know about Bob Minotti. He brought up my name. He was like, oh, I don't know anything because I never drove rideshare. I don't have to have driven Uber and Lyft for years to know what's going on. I travel a lot, okay? I'm in hundreds of Uber and Lyfts per year, hundreds of them, because I get the little end of the year, report card or whatever, report sheet, how many miles I've driven and all that stuff. And I speak to these drivers, especially now that I'm involved with Tryp. I know what's going on, especially since I've been paying attention to guys like the rideshare professor and the Uber slave and all this type of stuff, and getting into this niche. I see what's going on, so I don't need to literally physically be behind the wheel picking people up and have them throw up in my backseat to know what they're going through. Then he brought up, oh, well, what about the I don't know if Bishop, or I don't know if Bob Minotti, if they've ever driven. Well, I don't think the CEOs of Uber, Lyft, or any of them have ever gotten behind the wheel and did any of that stuff. So he's just making up excuses of like, you know, why he's the authority and, you know, why we're not, you know, credible or anything like that. But
Right. I mean, he's doing all this, you know, so he's now he's trying to bring it back, you know,
mhm.
which is understandable. You know why he's trying to bring it back? Because um he knows that now he has to create a product that has good PR. And he
Yep.
doesn't want at this point he decided to do this and he doesn't but see the funny thing is that this is something that just happened overnight because had he known that he was going to be opening up this product on his own venturing into this
He
then he
wouldn't
wouldn't
be.
have been creating this bad press to begin with to then try to take it back and
Yeah,
renege
it's too
you know
late.
so that already shows you that he does not understand the concept of business and the concept of this business itself and what all it takes and what it entails to have a rideshare company launched. I mean, him with his capital, he can say whatever he wants. I could skip trace this guy right now, and I could probably tell you what degrees and what he doesn't have. He can say whatever it is that he wants, um, but he's not a millionaire and it does take millions to develop this.
Yeah.
Like for example, look, I know for a fact there's a lot of hiccups in any business. In my business, I put some properties in the contract. I had them on the MLS. I put them in the contract. They weren't built yet. They were just lands, and I was showing the models. I showed the individuals the models. They loved the model, and they were like, "Hey, can you build me that house?" And I was like, "All right, cool. I'll have the house built in 3 to 4 months." All right. So there, it had a tentative date on it. So what happened? Trump decided to say, "Hey, tariff war." Guess what happened? All my quotes, my original quotes for how much it was going to cost for my budget on the cost of the house that I was going to build, they changed. So I had to go out and go get requoted because all the prices went up 15%. See, so those are things that you run into business that you don't
Right.
know. You're like, you're optimistic. You're like, oh, it's just gonna be smooth, but no, it's not. And then you're dealing with humans. You're dealing with individuals. You're
The
dealing
human element, man.
with yeah, you're dealing with human capital. You're dealing with individuals that are processing your applications. Like for example, on top of that, I had some trees on the lot that I had to clear out, and one guy said it was good, but then another guy came back, did an inspection, and he didn't like the tree, and he was like, "Hey, I want the tree out." So that took a little bit more time, and I had to change the surveys and the site plan, remove the tree from the survey, resubmit. It added like another week to my ETA. So stuff like that happens in any business. Me personally, I didn't get to where I am in business, like where I sit home and or get to travel as well and stuff like that whenever I want. I didn't get there overnight. Literally, like Greg and I we used to like throw darts at like basically like throw jabs at each other. Like he used to be like, "Oh, cloth tag," when I used to be in selling cars and stuff like that. It was hilarious. We used to, because I had one of my cars. I was sitting in one of my Hondas, and it was cloth, and he could see the cloth, and he was like roasting me because it was made out of
Yeah,
cloth
and
and not.
thankfully, you know, it wasn't that serious to where, you know, look at how we're doing business now. You know what I mean? Like,
Nah,
hopefully in the future,
it was never serious.
hopefully in the future, you know, me and that other guy can sit in the same room and honestly, there's nothing that I did that was wrong. So everything's gonna be on him, but he can apologize and say, you know what, yeah, man, you know what, you were right. And then we can just move on because he has such a huge following. He can bring so
Right,
much to the table. You know, I would have expected him to be a consultant. You know, I would have
right,
expected maybe even Tryp to reach out to him or him to reach out to Tryp. Somebody reach out to somebody and say, hey, we need you guys. Because at the end of the day, we need these guys, right? You know, now
right.
it's to the point where he's trying to start his own company, and now, like you said, he's starting to see, I might have fucked up. I might have like started with these guys, and because he said something earlier, he was like, yeah, we need competition. It can't only be Uber and Lyft. We need competition. Is now he's trying to say competition is good, and you know he's not even off the ground yet, so I can't even call it competition. But yeah,
You know,
we do need a bunch of other people, right? Other players. We need options. There needs to be checks and balances. You know, that's what you know when you're not a monopoly. That's what happens. You know, when other companies are in play. So I think we have a very real viable shot to do some heavy numbers and dig into this market share. He's probably going to start realizing that if he hasn't over the past 24 hours when I went into him, uh, it's just, in the perfect world, yeah, I mean, we could use him, we could use him, his following. Those are the type of people who we're trying to cater to, who we're trying to attract. It is the fed up driver, you know what I mean? Is the experienced driver, right? We're not just getting people from scratch, just, who've never done this. This is a lot of the people coming in are gonna be, current, former drivers. So, I want to feel bad for him, but I just can't, because we've had to sit back and take it for 6 months. We've had to take it for 6 months. You guys don't have an app. You guys keep missing dates. You guys have no drivers. You have no this. You have no that. Where's your licensing? Blah, 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 blah. Now, flip that on him, and anybody else who's going to
comes to the point where they run out of excuses, or they run out of critiques, because the thing is that there's no going back, right? At this point, too much money has been spent.
Yeah.
Too much effort has been already put. Too much sacrifice has been already made to go back. There's no going back. So the fact of the matter is that we are going forward, and this company is going to launch whatever it takes. So right now we're testing. Okay, we're testing. We're doing a trial run in Miami to make sure to see if this is an incentive by providing an incentive to the drivers. Are they going to be signing up? If this works, then it's something that is going to be standardized, right? If it works and we're able to sign up 3,500 to 5,000 people by August 18th, or maybe they might extend it. They might extend it. Who knows?
People call it a scam, and they're trying to find all types of ways of they're taking your money and stuff like this. I don't think at this point, right, 6 months in, why would a company if we weren't about to do anything, if the company wasn't about to do anything, wouldn't they have already taken people's money and ran? Wouldn't they have taken their little 149s and whoever upgraded for the 250? Wouldn't they have taken that and ran? That's the first question. The second part of that is, wouldn't it be more lucrative to just make it work? Like a bit. Think about it. Who would go through all this trouble to create this type of business model, websites, an app? Going live every Thursday, having a staff, website. Who people actually going around city to city, airport to airport, filling out applications? Who would go through all
on salary?
Who would go through all this trouble for a few little 199s that haven't even been charged yet?
Right.
Who would go through all this trouble? Doesn't it make more sense to actually go through with it and then cash out millions, billions?
No, it doesn't make sense for anyone to do anything nefarious at this.
I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of somebody who's just so negative and pessimistic, and that's a scam, right? If somebody would have said that's a scam back in December, January, whatever, okay, but now in June, July, for you to still you have to ask yourself this. Okay, wait, what? You would have to take a second look, because what did he why is Greg still on this, right? You have to ask yourself. I'm sure people on my Facebook, Instagram, why the hell is Greg still talking about Tryp? There's no cars on the road. He's not getting paid from it yet. There has to be. They have to investigate further, right? If this was a scam, if this
there's definitely the bigger picture.
If there was no money in this, yeah, so that's just.
Listen, I have no motivation. I personally have no motivation to be a part of any multi-level marketing company. For the very reason, and Greg has like what we were talking about earlier, that we used to go back and forth and chit chat all the time. Greg has known that I've never partaken in any MLM company. I've never liked them. I don't like their products. I don't like what they stand for. I don't care for it.
You're right.
And the second I saw Tryp, it came through my timeline. I looked at it. I was like, oh shoot, that thing is still around?
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, wait a minute, let me look into it.
Yeah.
And then I looked at. I was like, yo, that's a dope concept. I was like, that's a dope concept. I was like, why? Because it is something that is so essential to our society now. It was originally, it was a problem and a solution that was found to the problem that we didn't know that we had. We needed this type of business. We needed this type of industry. We needed other people to drive us elsewhere for cheaper fares than taxi. We didn't know we had that problem. Someone will figure it out. Hey, man, and that's why they've hallmarked it or dubbed it Uber. And whenever you say you're gonna catch something, you say I'm gonna catch Uber. It doesn't even, like, most of the time you don't even really say I'm gonna catch a Lyft. Most of the time, like, that's why you
Yeah.
hear Uber all the time, right? Quick before you close it out, because you said about, the MLM stuff. The reason why it's a community share, right, is instead of all that money, you can call it whatever you want, but instead of all the money just going back to Tryp, or all the money going back to Uber, or all the money going back to the large corporation, a lot of that money is staying with us. A lot of that money is staying in the community.
Yeah.
A lot
It's
of
more
that
like
money is
this.
staying with the drivers.
It's like this instead of like this.
Me to you. Right.
So that's a good little. We got to give people these
How could you
visuals.
hate that?
Huh?
No, I'm saying, how could you hate that? It just
How?
doesn't make sense.
No, well, they don't see that. They don't see that. If we literally made like a little animation or something, like, hey, the money is here to here, not up and down, because people like thinking of pyramid scheme and the money goes up and they get paid, and it's really like what you just said. We need to illustrate that, or we need to ask Tryp to help us illustrate that. That it's people don't understand peer to peer. A lot of the things you touched on today, went over. I don't even want to give a percentage, but a lot of people's heads. We're doing our best. We're making these videos and trying to reason with people, but there are a lot of people who, for whatever reason, maybe education, maybe they haven't been exposed enough to. For whatever reason, it's going to go over a lot of heads. They might just have that pessimistic. That's just how they're predisposed. I don't know what it is. I have no clue, because it blows my mind once again how people can come from being mistreated with Uber and Lyft, and still not want to give Tryp a chance because they're taking a little too long. They didn't have an app or whatever. All the excuses that now are dwindling. These excuses are dwindling because we're getting closer to August, and it boggles my mind how you can come from that and be negative. I would expect that type of it's a scam from regular 9 to 5 cubicle people. I would not expect that from as many drivers. But on the flip side, I can say that we do have a lot of drivers that are subscribed to this, that are ready to push this. And we're going to see that in Florida. We're going to see that in the events. We're getting together a venue. We're going to see all that. The rideshare world, before the world gets shocked, the rideshare world is going to be shocked. Like the little niche, these little Uber tubers and their followers and drivers, the little driving communities in local, like they're going to see it first before the masses do. When the masses it'll be too late. We're already setting ourselves up for being millionaires off of this. Hopefully, these drivers can realize that too, so they can. But I am excited. I couldn't be in a better position right now.
Yeah. This company, Tryp, is preparing for a marathon.
Mindset.
And for a marathon, you need to make sure that you are prepared prior to even going in there. And the preparation is everything.
I'm
you need to
bulletproof.
prepare mentally.
Yep. I'm 10 years into this, man. I'm bulletproof. You can call me all types of scammer. You can tell me it won't work. Yeah. Like he said, mindset, preparation. Like I am. This is the culmination of everything that I've been looking for in a company, in an opportunity, in something just ground shaking and disrupt. This is it. Like all the things that I thought was it before, over the years that have flopped, that I might have seen some success and whatever. Like all the failures I've gone through, all the money I've lost, money that's been taken from me, all that stuff has prepared me for what's about to happen. What's about to start in August, and I believe this, because if this isn't it, boy, like I'm gonna have to really rethink my life. I'm gonna have to do something else, totally different, if this right here, isn't it. But I believe so. and the preparation, everything is there. So
Yeah,
yep,
absolutely, man.
yep.
So I'm glad you remind me.
If
You remind me of 50 Cent, bro.
yeah,
Like, you know how when he be trolling people,
if he wants that Instagram, it's
he's
ten
like,
thousand.
I'm gonna buy 200 tickets front row so that your concert's empty.
Oh man, I once I saw that video last night, I was up for like half the night. I was on it. Like I got the Gmail account, I got the everything. I got the social medias and all for nothing. You know, it's gonna be so. At the end, it's just gonna be a joke. Yeah, you know, maybe he can save his ass and just scrap it. Maybe because you know.
I don't know what his intention really is, because